Hey everyone, welcome to Coleman Certified SBA Loan Office Hour Training Session live with Lance Sexton out of Arkansas. How's Arkansas treating you these days, Lance?
Bob, you know, I got a new pair of tennis shoes last night for my 5-on-5 game for my bank team, and I have blisters, so nobody told me I shouldn't buy a new pair of shoes before the game.
Duh, even I know that. I don't know. Hey, thanks for joining us, everyone. We appreciate your feedback. If you have any questions on anything, go ahead and give us to us. Let's go to the poll questions. I've been following this story. A lot of you have been emailing me complaining about SBA's response. I don't know if it's affecting you individually.
Hey, Bob, you know, we chatted about this. In my case, it's had a huge impact on loan authorization changes on GP loans where I send them in and I need them timely, and I have no idea whether SBA's received it or not.
There we
go. 50-50. It is having an impact.
And this specifically 504, this may not apply to our underwriters and servicers, but I want to know if it's affected you individually. What's happening is Sacramento's off the grid and getting a lot of feedback. Just they're not. Yeah, I didn't think it'd be affecting you. If you're a CDC, though, you are definitely not very happy. The USDA B&I program, Lance, just released new rules. I'm 45 pages worth of new rules. I'm sorting through that. Does your institution use the USDA B&I loan program?
No, Bob, that's a great thing about SBA and USDA. Just when you think you understand, they release updates. We've got a lot of 7A lenders on here, Bob.
I would encourage you to take a look at the USDA B&I program. It's very similar to SBA. It's a cousin. It's a government guarantee. It's small business. It's for rural loans. The nice thing about if you have a borrower who's maxed out on 7A/504, you can flip them over to a B&I. Processes are the same and a little bit higher amount. The average loan amounts, well, you can go up to $10 million, and they're well over $5 million. I think it's a great program, and there's no secondary market tax.
Well, and the other thing, Bob, I recently, well, a couple years ago at the conference in Washington, made a presentation on servicing your B&I portfolio, and just for the servicers out there, the SOP that governs servicing B&I is very, very similar. There's not a lot of difference between the SBA.
It's also very small. Yeah, it's all prudent lending. They do want you to get the tax returns. They do require annual site visits, but nothing out of the ordinary. Anyway, you need to check that out. These are Lance's questions. How often after submitting a 4506T to the IRS is the request rejected? Why are you asking us that question, Lance?
Bob, we have gone to just having the borrower sign the form and put their name at the top. Because if a borrower, for instance, if they're writing the date in an example, when we came into the year 2016 in January, we had one, they put 2015, scratched it out, and then wrote 16, it got rejected.
No, come on.
They put the wrong title, it'll get rejected. If it looks altered in any way, form, or shape. So we either produce the form in advance and get their signature, or we send it to them and get a signature on it and fill it in for them. But we've discontinued the process, Bob, of saying, hey, here's a 4506T. Please fill this out and give it back to us.
Good idea. Good idea. Next question. On your delegated loans, PLP Express, you reconcile the tax transcripts with the actual tax returns. When do we do this? Before, during, or after? Or we don't need no stinking reconciliation.
Well, answer number 3 is not a good one, Bob.
Don't do that.
I can live with both 1 and 2. I usually do it prior to closing the loan, which it looks like that's true with our group. Those who do not reconcile the tax transcripts, please start doing that. It's a pretty simple process. When you get the transcript from the IRS, take the actual tax return, just sit there and compare them and see if there are any differences. Bob, I like to run through and check the line items. And Bob, I don't spend 2 hours reconciling a tax transcript unless there's a variance. If there are no variances, it's just check, 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 check. I sign tax transcript reconciled, I sign it, date it, and I'm done. But it's an absolute requirement, and if you ever have an SBA loan that's early default and you haven't done it, you got a problem.
Go back to the results, Joseph. Best practice, who in the institution should be doing the reconciliation?
Bob, I do the reconciliation myself. I'm not saying that the SBA department manager has to do it. We're in the process of really ramping up our SBA effort at the bank, Bob. Last month was a huge month for us, and it's real important for me that we do this right and everybody's on mark to get the loans closed properly. Also, my loan assistant has started helping me reconcile the tax transcripts after watching me do it 2 or 3 times. But you know, I don't think it could be a loan analyst, a loan assistant, loan officer, could be department manager, but somebody needs to do it.
Lance, assuming the 20% don't have fat fingers and they aren't doing it, should they go back and reconcile them after the fact?
There is absolutely no doubt.
Okay.
If it's not been done, pick up the file, reconcile the transcripts with the returns, sign it, date it, and you'll be okay.
And there's nothing wrong with dating it. You know, you don't have to backdate this stuff. Don't worry about
No,
it.
you don't have to backdate it. It just needs to be done. And quite frankly, Bob, the place where this comes heaviest into play is if you have an early default loan. If you have an early default loan without reconciled transcripts, you could have a problem.
Very good. Well, no, you will have a problem. Let's see. Finally, what percentage of your SBA lending is to franchises? Why are you asking this question, Lance?
Well, Bob, franchise lending has a few additional steps for eligibility. You're going to have to go into the franchise registry and check and see if the franchise is one of SBA's approved franchises. Just because it's approved doesn't mean you don't have to review the franchise agreement. I actually reviewed the franchise agreement and sign and date it as well. The other thing is putting in your franchise loan into SBA One is going to require a funds number. I wish I could say it was a fund number, but it's a funds number. And Bob, recently I had a franchise that was not on the approved list. That doesn't mean you can't go ahead and move forward with the loan, but you've got to do a thorough review of the franchise agreement, and the SOP 5010-5H has a section that indicates what you need to look for when you're reviewing it. So there's some extra steps to make sure you're protected from an eligibility perspective on franchise lending.
Lance, we're working through the training. We're in week 6 for the closers on the line, so you are in the home stretch. Congratulations. And see some familiar names. JJ, good to see you as always. Email question. Lance, go ahead. I'll let you talk about this.
Well, this is a loan for a franchise, ironically enough. They're doing edible arrangements. The loan amount's $142,000. There was a $35,000 equity injection, it says, from personal cash reserves. They got 2-month statements to verify the funds, and it turns out that the money came from a line of credit, and the line of credit, there was a withdrawal of a cashier's check to pay the franchise fee. Okay, do they need to go back and verify the funds, and how far back? And you know, I have some concerns about this. Equity injection is such an important area of properly closing. And Bob, I have 5 of those on my desk right now that I'm working through, so it's a very relevant topic for me. And I have one that's like this. The money's coming from a home equity line of credit. Now, Bob, I got 3 months worth of statements showing the availability, but more importantly, if it's coming from a debt instrument like a line of credit or a loan, you need to be able to show that the ability to repay that loan comes from other sources, meaning in my case, I've got a husband and wife. The wife is going to continue to work for a large corporation here and makes a sizable income and has more than enough income to cover their personal obligations, including this home equity line of credit, and I've documented the file with that, and that's good. So in this particular case, I think you want to make sure, I like 3-month statements. 2 months is adequate according to SBA. You can make that call, but the most important thing on this is the fact that you can show that they can repay this home equity line of credit or line of credit with resources that are not coming from the small business.
Great. We announced our SBA One Training. We have several of you who've signed up already. Welcome. And yeah, and this is Lance. Give us a glimpse of what you're going to be doing. We're going to start this next month.
Guys, if you're not on SBA One, you better get there.
We didn't have that poll question, did we?
October the 1st, if you want to submit a GP loan to SBA, it's going to have to be done through SBA One. Now, delegated lenders ask, why would you be so excited? Because express loans and PLP loans, you can do it through E-Tram pretty easily, but here's the deal, Bob. On your delegated loans, you can put them into SBA One. You can produce a perfectly compliant authorization. When it's all done, the back room at my bank love me because I can produce the note, the guarantee, the security agreement, the disbursement form. I can produce the 601 if required, the 159 if required, the 1624. I can produce 80% of the closing documents out of SBA One. And the other thing, Bob, I don't know, we've talked about this in this session, but SBA, there's a law that's being considered right now related to SBA. One of the critical areas is credit elsewhere. And in SBA One, there is a document you can produce that shows you all the eligibility factors and your response to those. Additionally, Bob, it covers the credit elsewhere rule very well. So I'm now on all SBA One, or all SBA, we do all of our loans through SBA One, Bob.
Good.
Did 12 last month, which was a great month, but there's a document you can produce that on page 5 clearly covers SBA One. Additionally, all the other eligibility factors are covered. I think if I were reviewing an SBA file and I picked this document up and reviewed it, Bob, I'd probably stop and move on to the next file. So it makes delegated lending a quicker, and delegated lending is already quick and efficient, but it even makes it more so. So I'm excited about this training. The one element that I want to bring to this, Bob, we're going to take an express loan from start to finish. We're going to take a GP loan from start to finish. We're going to take a PLP loan from start to finish. So for those of you who have not processed loans using SBA One, this is an excellent training.
Do yourselves a favor also, and I don't know why SBA does this, but they require the lending institution to reauthorize the authorizing official every 6 months, and now we're in that window. It has to be done by July 11th. If it's not done, guess what? They're going to lock you out of the system. So go back, find out who in your institution is the authorizing official, and they have to send an email. Just so you can Google it. Go on our website. If you can't find anything, send me an email. I'll send you the details.
Bob,
all it is sending them an email, but it's got to be done. Go ahead, Lance.
All the authorizing officials got an email telling them that it's time to reauthorize those people using SBA One. All they have to do is go into SBA One and click on the security feature, and there's a recertification tab, and when they click on that, all they have to do, there's a recertify all. You can recertify all, and it's a pretty simple process, but it has to be done. And the downside, Bob, is those people who are using SBA One who are not the certifying official, if the certifying official don't do their work, in about 30 days, they'll click on SBA One and be locked out.
You're out of business. Well, with that, thank you all. Do we have any questions? Hey, thanks all for joining us. We respect your time. Hopefully these sessions are worthwhile. Send us your emails. If you have technical questions, please send them to him. Lance we love to play Stump the Professor. Everyone, enjoy your weekend. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks a lot.
Have a great weekend.